Alright, starting lesson 4.1, translations. Alright, to begin translations, we're going to talk about this concept. Alright, a vector. Alright, a vector is a quantity that has both direction and magnitude, or size, and is represented in the coordinate plane by an arrow drawn from one point to another. Alright, so I don't have to read through all this for you. You could read through it yourself, but the important things you have to understand is the notation. All right, for a vector, we have like this line with like a half of an arrowhead on top. All right, and then we have this notation here, which indicates what the movement is for the vector. So we have these type of brackets here, like these sideways V's, and the first value represents your horizontal movement, and the second value represents your vertical movement. So if we're starting from here, we're going 5 units right, and we're going 3 units up. And then there's my vector right here, the solid red. Alright, so let's do one example here. And you could read all this in your book if you like, but I'm just clarifying everything here. Example 1, identifying vector components. In the diagram, name the vector and write its component form. Okay, so it starts here, it ends here. So it's JK. There's the vector notation. All right, excuse me, and it's going 3 units to the right and 4 units up. All right, there's the component form. All right, next idea we're going into is a transformation. A transformation is a function that moves or changes a figure in some way to produce a new figure called an image. All right. First type of transformation we're going to be working with is a translation. All right, translation is simply a shift of the whole figure. Nothing changes about the figure. All right. Now, one important thing to be aware of is here you have P, and then you have P prime. All right. So P prime is just where P ends up after it's been manipulated. So here we have P. Here's P prime. Here's Q. Here's Q prime. So you've essentially taken this segment and you've shifted it over here. All right, so for example 2, they tell you what the vertices of the triangle are, or the points of the triangle. All right, it says that translate triangle ABC using the vector 5, -1. So that means for each of the x values, I'm going to add on 5. And for each of the y values, I'll be subtracting 1. All right, so these were my original points. And after I apply the vector components, all these points get shifted. And those are my new points. So here I have A prime, B prime, and C prime. All right, it's really simple once you get the hang of it. All right, and one important thing to be aware of, you can also express translation along the vector using a rule which has the notation this. So whenever you see this type of notation, you're talking about a translation. All right, let's do a couple more translations. What's happening here? We got triangle ABC, then we have triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. All right, so what are you doing here? It says write the rule. So essentially, here's your rule. We're coming up with the vector components. So what happened with C? We moved C to the right 4 units. All right, to the right 4. Or actually, let me go back here. I started with C prime. I'm supposed to start with C. I went back 4 units. All right, so that's subtracting 4. And then I went up 1 unit. That's adding 1. So there's my vector components for that. And if I wanted to write out the rule for the translation, I would simply be taking the x value, I would be subtracting 4, and I'm taking the y value, and I'm adding 1. That's all there is to it. Example 4, same deal. Here I have A, so I'm going to go to the right 3 units. And I'm going to go down 1 unit. All right, there's my vector components. And if I wanted to write out the rule, I'm simply adding 3 to the x and subtracting 1 from the y. All right, so first you would identify all of your coordinates for A, B, C, and D, and then just apply the translation rule. That's all there is to it. And then you get your new points, A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. All right, next part of your book talks about performing compositions. First idea is rigid motions. Rigid motions just means you're taking the object or the figure and you're just shifting it, and nothing changes about the size or the shape of it. It's identical. All right, and composition just means you're applying more than one transformation at a time. So here's one translation, I take it over here, and I apply another translation, and I take it over here. So if it's 2 translations or more, then you're known as using a composition. All right, example 5. All right, so first thing you're doing is taking these points, and you're adding 5, and then subtracting 2. After you've done that, then you take whatever you get from here, and you subtract 4 from the x values, and then you subtract 2. And you've applied your composition. That's all there is to it. All right, very easy lesson once you understand the concept. If you have any questions, please let me know. Begin the assignment.